So back in the early 90s, my friend and I, we came across a great import store here in Brisbane. It was on the north side of Brisbane at Rhodey Road, Chermside, and the owner was Andrew Bergen. And when we first discovered this store, it just blew us away because it had Super Famicom, the Japanese Mega Drive. Years later, he would have PC Engine, Neo Geo, all that sort of stuff that we didn't get here in Australia. But what was really cool about it was coming across Japanese games we'd never seen before, we never heard of before, and it was our go-to place for getting those kind of games. And I remember one time going in there and seeing this game on the shelf that immediately caught my attention, just with the artwork on it. And that game was Bare Knuckle, which is known in the West as Streets of Rage. I do prefer the name Bare Knuckle over Streets of Rage any day. And I remember seeing this. He put it on one of the systems and fired it up, and just what blew me away was with the music by Yuzo Koshiro. That was it. That's all I needed to see of this game to make me want to get it. Just by watching that music, the scroll going through the story. And what was really cool about that back then was I had a modified Mega Drive, which was really cool because with a flick of a switch I could go from 50 Hertz to 60 Hertz, and when I flicked the switch I could play this game, and it had the English text on it because it was already embedded in the program. Just with a simple flick of a switch I was able to do that on the with my Aussie Mega Drive. But the memories of this game is just phenomenal. I bought this just because of seeing the music. I didn't see any of the gameplay, just what was going through the demo screen, and it just blew me away with just the level design, just the characters. They weren't all beefed up like I think it was a Final Fight series. The Super Nintendo would get Final Fight Guy. Then you had the two characters, and I think years later, or I think after that, they released the one with the other character, but it was never three characters on this. And this one had Alex, Adam, and Blaze, three different characters all together with different skills and different, special moves and all that sort of stuff. But the music in this game just to this day has stuck to me. We had Streets of Rage 2 and 3. They were great games. I did feel that by the time they got to Streets of Rage 2, the characters were all on steroids, whereas in this game they were well proportioned. And here we are all these years later about to get Streets of Rage 4, and again Yuzo Koshiro is involved in the music. We all thought he would be, but it's just like a who's who of talent from Japan, musicians that are doing this. It's just phenomenal. Just who they've got to do the music for this Streets of Rage 4, which I hope is going to be called Bare Knuckle in Japan, but Bare Knuckle 4. But when this game first came out, it wasn't a massive hit in Japan. It was more a big hit in the West. But it did warrant the other two sequels. Great memories of this game, and it's so fantastic to see this game getting finally we're getting a part 4 to it after how many years, 20 odd years or so. It's ridiculous. It's great though. But I just with the great import stores back then, it was so amazing to be able to go into his shop here in Brisbane and see all this sort of stuff, all these amazing games with the Japanese covers, see the PC Engine, Turbo Graphics, and Neo Geo, which was ridiculously high prices, and I could never justify wanting to get one of those. But years later he would move from Rhodey Road down to along Kedron Road. You couldn't miss his shop because the front of the shop was all decked out with a Sonic the Hedgehog mural, which looked phenomenal. I think it was called TV Game Consoles. That's what his store was called. But it was a great place to go to be able to play those Japanese games that we would have to wait like a year or so later before the Mega Drive and the Super Nintendo would be released here in the West. And he got in trouble with I think it was Nintendo Australia, because he did import Japanese Super Famicoms. He had the games as well, and you know, he had a, you know, I guess like a court order to say, hey, stop selling them or we're going to take you to court, or whatever it was. And he had to stop selling them, and he would go further into the grey import stuff, where you get the attachments to sit on top of your Mega Drive, or I think it was a Super Nintendo, where you put your 3.5-inch floppy disk in there and you could rip games. And you know, for a while there, that was what a lot of us did. You know, we stopped collecting games, and we would do a little bit of pirating on the side. But you know, that's the way it was back then. And years later, you know, I thought, no, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to have the proper games in the collection. But you know, that was something that we did back then. I was a pirate. Yeah, go to Blockbuster or whatever, bring home the cartridge, put it on the top of this system where it's still on the Mega Drive, and a flick of a button and you're ripping onto a 3.5-inch floppy disk, which was really cool. But you know, it was a great time back then with seeing that sort of stuff, because it was so different for a lot of us. We'd never seen a lot of Japanese games. You know, I used to get the I think it was the Famitsu magazine from Japan, which was so cool. Couldn't read a word of it, but just look at the photos and just look at, you know, all the pictures in the magazine, and the ad campaigns were a lot different, a lot more, you know, out there than what we had here in the West. But yeah, the grey import market was great back then. Still, you know, even later in the 90s, it was still going, and it's all but disappeared now, because it's just so ready accessible to get games from Japan, from either PlayAsia. You can get them directly from Japan, or look on eBay, try and find some, you know, bargains at least. But you know, to be able to see something back then was amazing to us. You know, to walk into a store and see something like this on the shelf, and it just with the artwork, just caught your eye straight away. Same with Crackshot and other games like that. Just, you know, the Japanese artwork was way better back then than what we got here in the West. And I think what I'm seeing with a lot of covers now, it's nowhere near as good as this. It honestly isn't. But you know, it's good to be able to just reminisce about, you know, finding a game store back then, a great import game store, and be able to go in there and just find what you want, and just, you know, talk to somebody who was into the whole gaming scene. Not like today, where you go into an EB Games, is, you know, want to try and sell you this, sell you that, trade in this, trade in that, all that sort of stuff. It's not the same environment anymore, which is what I miss from years ago, where you could actually go into an EB game store and just talk about, you know, games. But now it's all sell, and get out of there and move on to the next customer. But I'm so happy that we're going to get a Streets of Rage 4. I'm going to call it Bare Knuckle 4 coming out. I don't know if it's the end of this year or early next year, but to have the music talent that they got in that game is unbelievable. It's just the who's who of music talent from Japan. So yeah, that's it, guys. That's just a couple, you know, some of my memories of this Bare Knuckle, you know, the grey import market from the early 90s. So yeah, that's it. Cannot wait for Streets of Rage 4, Bare Knuckle 4. But you have to agree, the artwork back then was so much better than what I'm seeing lately with a lot of games. This is just phenomenal. I just can't wait for the new game to come out. So hey guys, see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.